This article is the 17th in a series focusing on vendors who are selling their wares at the Western New York Welcome Center's Taste New York Market. In this vendor spotlight, Steve Messmer of Lively Run Dairy and Jen Gabel of Meadow Run Dairy share their unique collaborative story, along with some business and marketing experiences, tips, and strategies. Spotlight on Lively Run Dairy.
A little bit of background. So Lively Run Goat Dairy started in 1982, making us one of a handful of goat farms in the country that pioneered goat cheese. So there were like 3 or 4 others at the time that are kind of prominent, like Laura Chanel in California, Vermont Butter and Cheese, which was bought out recently by Land O'Lakes, and a couple of others. So we're actually, pioneers of goat cheese. We always stayed a small family farm. Other ones I just mentioned grew significantly and became more sort of mass-produced. Our farm is based out of Interlaken, New York, which is right in the heart of the Finger Lakes. My wife and I bought out the business in 1995, and we've been running it ever since. We've primarily made goat cheese, and still that's our major production, hence our, relationship with Jennifer and this farm. But we do also make some cow cheese. A smaller percent of our production is in cow cheese. We milked goats on our own farm, our home farm, for 20-some years. At our peak, we had about 120 milking. Wasn't enough to supply our growing cheese market, which is throughout New York State and now currently extending into New England, Boston, Philadelphia, New York City, DC, some down into Pennsylvania and places, and Vermont. And also we do mail orders to some specialty cheese shops around the country, and we also do retail mail orders anywhere in the nation. Okay, so yeah, Lively Run is a family-owned LLC corporation. We're a family partnership owned by my wife and myself as the majority holders, and then our 2 sons. Operationally, my wife and I are full-time running it. My wife, Susanna, runs our retail operation on the farm. I help out with the retail, and I'm also helping out with the wholesale. Our wholesale and cheese production is managed by my son, Pete, who's the head cheesemaker and head of production and operations as far as cheese making. And our other son, Dave, who's a minority holder, is a part-time financial advisor for the business. So currently we have about anywhere from 4 to 5 full-time cheesemaker staff, people in production. We have another 2 to 3 people in our retail operation. And then seasonally that fluctuates a bit. So, however, we're growing and we're going to be hiring more as time goes on. Yeah, so Lively Run Goat Dairy started off producing all of its own milk on location in Interlaken. At our maximum, we were milking 120 goats. We milked for a good 20 years, and then it got to the point where our combined business between cheese production, marketing, sales, distribution, and the farming side, it just got to be too much. And we were maxed out on our land base and our facility. We really couldn't milk more without major expansions that we didn't have enough land base to support. So we started to look around to find partners to supply us milk, and we went through a period of time with some local suppliers and outgrew that, and then we got to a point where we really wanted to partner up with some professional dairy people to create a solid, reliable goat milk partner farm supply for our growing business. So we had these ambitions for a couple of years, and there were no prospects in our local area whatsoever. And one day I get this letter in the mail from someone wanting to produce goat milk. and what immediately attracted us was that the background of the folks that contacted us. Their multi-generational dairy farm, and now of course we're speaking about Jennifer and Kyle and family, and her background as a vet, and her apparently a long time desire to want to do something with goats. Well, that all resonated with us super strong. There was distance involved here, as we're in the Finger Lakes, and we're in Lawton's here at the farm, so that's a bit of separation, but we felt that the values that Jennifer and Kyle and her family brought to the table here, for us they were overwhelming, and we felt like, okay, this distance issue is minor, and we're going to find a way to solve that. So that started a dialogue, and the dialogue went for about a year.
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yep.
Because we had tons of detail to work out. None of us were in a big hurry. Mm-hmm. We all wanted to do it correct. So I'm going to let Jen tell the story here about her letter.
So my name is Jennifer Gabel, and my husband Kyle and I are the sole owners of Meadow Run Dairy, along with our daughters Jocelyn, Miranda, and Natalie, who are all a very big part of our farm in the day-to-day operations, and also in the planning and in a lot of the forward thinking and future ideas they are heavily involved in. So I'm a veterinarian by trade, and my husband Kyle is a dairy farmer. He is affiliated with an 800 cow dairy, which is right across the street. He is partners with his father and mother, William and Patricia Gabel, and his brothers, Mark and Darren Gabel. So together they milk 800 cows on 2 dairies, and they have around 1,000 head of young stock and dry cows, and they do a really great job as far as their milk quality and their animal care. And we were interested, Kyle and I, in forming a business that could be more of a niche market, and a market that had more of a growing demand, and there were not as many supply issues as there are on the cow milk side. So we were standing actually in the maternity barn one day, and our nutritionist said, "Hey, have you ever thought about milking goats?" And we thought, gosh, no, we haven't. And we sort of brushed it off, but then we started peeling back layer by layer, investigating the idea of it. And it took about 5 years, and here we are today, milking 260 does, and all of our milk goes to Lively Run. Twice a week we ship our milk, and it's been a really good, positive experience. We've had some bumps in the road starting out, but we've got things ironed out, and we're doing okay now. Things are going quite well. We are currently milking 260 does, and we have a mixture of breeds. We milk Alpine does as well as Sonnens and La Manchas and a few Oberhasleys, and we milk, they are milked twice a day. We milk at 5:30 in the morning and 4 o'clock at night, and our milk is exclusively shipped to Lively Run Dairy, and we transport the milk to them. We have a bulk tank it's essentially a milk house built onto the back of a box truck, fully enclosed, and our milk is sent on Mondays and Thursdays by a retired truck driver who is also a part-time farmer, and it's very convenient. John lives 5 minutes away, and he is very happy to drive to Interlaken twice a week. He really looks forward to it, and The relationship has been working out really well. So our milk goes exclusively to Lively Run, and our barn is set up that we have the ability, if we need to, if Lively Run asks us to, we can expand our herd through internal growth to a maximum of 400 milking does at this facility.
And you said you have an exclusive contract for milk with Lively Run.
Correct, yes.
And I would add the exclusivity goes both ways. So we do not source any other goat milk other than from Jen and Kyle. And so our exclusivity arrangement is, mutually beneficial. And we don't, either of us deviate from that unless we discuss it, if there's some extenuating circumstance or what have you. But we specifically set it up that way because we wanted to place our sourcing in expert hands that we could rely on long-term and growable. And so yeah, we're really happy with that. And it's actually a foundational element of our strategic growth plan. So Lively Run Goat Dairy has been making goat cheese since 1982. It's still our primary product line. If I could guess, I think we're probably 85 to 90% goat cheese production. However, in recent years, we've added some cow cheese because we make both wholesale product and we also have a retail operation where people come to our farm and buy cheese. And so the public, people would be constantly asking us about cow cheese. A lot of the guys that would come with their wives or girlfriends would be asking for cow cheese, cheddar cheese, or whatever. The ladies always being interested in sort of the gourmet end. But so we finally took that up and started making some cow cheese. Our goat cheese products have initially were primarily the soft, creamy style goat cheese that most people are familiar with, called chèvre, which means goat in French. That's where the name comes from. So back when Lively Run started in 1982, there was virtually no domestic chèvre in the marketplace. It was all, goat cheese was primarily an imported product. So in the early 80s, it started to become available domestically, and Lively Run was involved. An interesting development has happened in the intervening years, almost 40 years now, is that chèvre, the soft goat cheese, is becoming a commodity. Whereas in 1982, it was a specialty. It was a niche market. But now, chèvre it's just everywhere. And you can obtain chèvre in places like Aldi or what have you for, I would say it's almost like what we would consider dumping prices. The value has been so commodified. So we've diversified. We've gotten into all kinds of other specialty goat cheeses, hard goat cheeses, bloomy rind goat cheeses, blue goat cheese. And we've become nationally recognized for that. We've won some national awards with our Finger Lakes Gold, which is a hard aged goat cheese, and our Cayuga Blue, which is a exclusive goat milk blue cheese, which is pretty rare in the domestic market. And those cheeses have continued to grow in popularity, and so we've been able to diversify in a market where the standard soft goat cheese has kind of become a commodity. So in addition to that, I would say a strong part of our marketing and sales strategy is that we're very diversified in our customer base. So we're diversified from supermarkets to health food stores to farm stands to almost any kind of market you can imagine. We're in it. Buying clubs, co-ops, all kinds of things. So And the same holds true with our product diversification. So like as I mentioned, we diversified into cow cheeses. And so that's been a strong suit of ours. It's also challenging. The flip side of the coin is it's very hard to scale when you're making a lot of different projects and products. But it's served us well, and we're looking at scaling a select number of those products for a more national target of growth. I would also say that our diversification of product has enabled us to not only survive COVID, but we actually grew during COVID. We didn't go down. Our growth rate was somewhat diminished because of COVID, but we still grew. And we were able to do that because of our product diversity and our client diversity. We were able to pivot. We have a very strong retail presence, both on the farm, online, and locally, as well as our wholesale business. And so when COVID hit, a lot of the production that was lost in the commercial restaurant business went to retail, online. We were also postured to be involved in the Nourish New York approach, where we produced a lot of cheese for World Central Kitchen, which is a nationally known relief organization sponsored by a very well-known chef out of California. And they had a huge project in New York City, and we were able to supply that project with several tons of cheese over a period of about 6 weeks during the height of the crisis. So the diversity of our product line enabled us to get through these humps and bumps, I guess you would say. So in addition to our cheese production and sales at Lively Run, we also are engaged in a very active and growing retail tourism business. So we host, we're seasonal. We open in May, we close in October, and we're open, we used to be open 7 days a week. Due to COVID, we cut it back to 5 days a week, and we left it that way because we found that it worked. And so we currently are open from Wednesday through Sunday. We have a retail cheese shop with all kinds of things in it and goat-related products, like we have truffles made from a local chocolate operation in Rochester that uses our goat cheese. We have goat milk soap and lotions made, and we also do some cheesecakes and things like that, and other goodies in our store. Some of the fun aspects also that we've been doing for a couple of years is goat yoga, and Jen accommodates us with that because kid goats from Jen staff our goat yoga. They're the stars of the show, and they jump around and play with our yoga clients. And that got so popular this year, we actually purchased a party tent that we own and set up permanently for goat yoga so that we can do it no matter what the weather is. Also, with the baby goats from Jen, we do bottle feedings. Customers come around noon and they get to feed bottles to the baby goats. So our retail operations really a lot of fun, and it's growing, and we're happy to do that, and it's fun to engage the public and let people see and experience some of the farm life firsthand. And I will add, we also have still, even though we don't milk goats anymore, we still have a small show herd on our farm of retired dairy goats, and recently we added a couple of Angora mohair goats to the mix, and we're going to be doing some little crafty projects with the mohair wool that comes from those goats. The front row of cheeses here are goat cheeses. So this is what all of our goats here on the other side of this barn enable us to do. And I will add too, one of the very good aspects of our relationship with the Gabels is milk consistency and quality. So Jen's been working hard. You know, it's always hard to start up a goat herd, and she's done a fantastic job. And the end product is consistent milk quality, so that we can continue to make cheeses that, you know, hit the standards that we want. And that's what's happening now. And so what we have here is our goat cheeses up front. The first two are blue and our gold. This is Cayuga Blue. This is a unique cheese. It's a pure 100% goat milk blue cheese, and there's only a handful of those in the country. And I think we were one of the first, if not the first, goat blue in the nation. We were documented early on with that cheese and won some national awards with it. And it took a long time to develop, because goat milk and the qualities of goat milk are very different than cow milk. So developing the blue cheese and getting it just right took a long time. Right next to it is our hard-aged goat cheese called Finger Lakes Gold. That also won first place at American Cheese Society, first in its class in 19, the year before COVID. Not only that, it placed in the top 15 cheeses for best in show in the country out of, I don't know, I think it was 1,500 cheeses there. It's also pretty unique. It's hard-aged goat cheese. We've had a lot of interest in this product, you know, beyond New York State, and this one we're looking to ramp up into some bigger distribution. So that's our newest cheese, I would say. That's been under development in the last maybe 8 years. Then we have right next to it our feta cheese, which is 100% goat milk feta. And feta cheese is real Balkan fetas are always goat or sheep. And so that makes them pretty exclusive. There are a lot of fetas in the domestic marketplace that are made out of cow milk. But the real deal is usually goat or sheep. So, and that makes goat or sheep milk fetas a little pricier because of the cost of milk. But the flavor profile, the structure, and if you're into feta cheese, is way different, and it's what feta people are looking for. Then we have our chèvre, which is the typical soft goat cheese that most people are familiar with. And this one happens to be herbed with some za'atar, which is a Middle Eastern spice mix. We have it in different herbs or plain. This is our highest volume seller, and we've been making that all along, right from the beginning. Whereas these other cheeses, you know, we developed later as the business matured. I would add that this right here is a bloomy rind cheese, a brie cheese made of cow milk. And I don't have a sample of it with me here today, but we have a goat milk version of this as well, called Lakestone. We just don't have any currently, but it's a similar cheese in goat milk. So behind our goat milk cheeses represent about 80 to 90% of our total production. And then we have a number of cow cheeses that we've been developing in the last, I would say, 5 to 8 years. So we have our cow milk blue, which is very similar to our goat milk blue, only it's cow milk. And it's amazing because the milk or the cheese make methods are very, very similar, but the flavor profile is quite different because of the milk. So it's always a fun comparison to do a side-by-side tasting with the two blue cheeses to see the difference that the milk makes. Then we have our Lake Effect Cheddar, which is our version of a cheddar cheese. And it's quite different than, I would say, New York cheddars, in that we follow a little more rigorously the cheddar make procedures that are used in Cheddar, England, cheddar being a place. And our curd structure is more pronounced, so it's crumblier, and you can actually sort of see curds when you break it up. Then we have our Shire. Our Shire is a cow milk Gouda that we brine in a local beer from Shire brewery near Ithaca, and that's why it's called Shire. That's a tasty cheese. And then we have a gourd trail Gouda, which is the same as a Shire essentially without the beer brine. So this is straight up Gouda. And then, as I just mentioned a little bit ago, we have our blooming rind brie cheese made of cow milk, our Sheldrake Moon. And again, we have a goat milk version called Lakestone. So that's our product lineup.
Thank you once again to Steve Messmer of Lively Run Dairy in Interlaken, New York, and to Dr. Jen Gabel and her daughters, Miranda, Jocelyn, and Natalie of Meadow Run Dairy in Lawtons, New York, for enthusiastically sharing their story of their collaborative artisanal cheese and dairy goat milk operations. Special thanks to Miriam Helscher for demonstrating her goat milking skills. Now made exclusively from goat milk produced at Meadow Run Dairy, Lively Run's award-winning artisanal goat cheeses, along with other Lively Run products, are available at many Taste New York markets throughout New York State, in addition to being available at the Lively Run Farm and Cheese Shop in Interlaken, numerous fine restaurants and wineries throughout the Finger Lakes, and many regional health food stores, farm markets, and supermarkets across New York State and beyond. See the Lively Run webpage, www.livelyrun.com/where-the-cheese. Products are also available through Lively Run's online store. Lively Run Dairy is one of the longest operating commercial goat dairies in the country, pioneering goat cheese production for the American marketplace. The family-owned and operated creamery, now run by Steve and Suzanne Messmer and their sons Pete and Dave, continues its mission of crafting cheeses in a way that honors people, animals, and the land. As they say about their farm on their webpage, we aim to empower our employees, customers, partners, and the greater community to live healthier, happier lives. This philosophy has extended to their exclusive relationship with the Gabels and Meadow Run Dairy. This interview took place at the Meadow Run Dairy in Lawtons in Erie County. Viewers who would like to see more images of the Lively Run Dairy operation and cheesemaking in Interlaken are encouraged to visit the photo video gallery on the Lively Run webpage and to follow the farm on its Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, TripAdvisor, or YouTube pages. Lively Run Dairy, in partnership with Meadow Run Dairy, is another example of how small businesses in New York State are continually adjusting to changes in the economy and markets, and is one of the many businesses working to make locally grown, manufactured, or processed and packaged foods, beverages, goods, and services available to consumers throughout the state, region, and beyond.